welcome to the Citizens Corner. I am Michael Shivick.
I'm Bill Moore.
And Bill, it's a nice weather that we're having outside for water discussions, because we have possibly been getting soaked, huh?
We've been getting soaked. We need the water. We could use a week of this.
I know. So what's going on? Looks like we have another vote coming up for the Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District on December 6th at 7 p.m. at Leicester Town Hall. What's going on there?
You know, just looking forward to that vote there, and I think the town is energized. I think a lot of the town folks are really getting involved and really starting to look at everything, not just Cherry Valley Rochdale, but Leicester Water Supply up in the center of town, and then Hillcrest as well. So I think it's all good. But you know, just starting off here, Mike, I just want to set the record straight here, because you know, when our water district is under the gun here and they're feeling the pressure here,
the water pressure,
yeah, but also the other pressure. But you know, I want to just stipulate here that Senator Mike Moore and Representative Kate Campanelli was very instrumental of putting together, brokering a discussion with the water districts here to try to break the logjam that's going on here.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of a discussion as to whether people were going to participate going forward in a kind of a joint discussion of how we can move the town forward for water issues. And the interesting thing to me is coming onto the scene, being elected in June, but having been involved in town before, is this has kind of been a dead issue, but when you start following the paper trail, things become a little bit interesting, to say the least,
right.
To say that why would there be a lockjam in the first place, right, when, you know, that seems to be that there was a contract signed and some of the other stuff that we've discussed in, you know, prior segments. So it seems that, you know, for whatever reason that was going on. Maybe that's, you know, stuff that other people at home have a very good idea about. But it was nice to see Senator Moore contact Leicester Water Department directly, reach out to them, try to schedule something. Kate was in attendance, and there was another meeting that she called with the DEP,
right,
which preceded that. So both of those guys on the state level have been doing what they can to try to broker discussion and communication between the water districts, because, to use another water-related pun, it's been percolating in amongst the water districts for some time.
Well, they haven't done anything, and so we just want to say hats off to our two elected representatives, because they have been there for us. There's been, you know, some people contacted them and saying that you and I and Mark threw them under the bus here, or whatever the case might be, and that's not the case here. When we first started this, we said we'd like to have our state delegation get involved. We're talking, you know, prior to the first vote here. They've been very instrumental to get them to talk about it. You know, if we didn't start doing what we were doing here, they would have never had that meeting.
Correct.
It would have been just business as usual. So this falls squarely back on Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District. You know, they weren't doing anything up until this point here. And so then, you know, I just wanted to set the record straight there. I just wanted to thank Mike Moore and Kate Campanelli. Thank you for being involved. But you know what? There's only so much that they can do. 2 years ago, when they got the a state grant to repair the dam Stiles Reservoir.
Now, was that through Ann Goby at the time, through the 5-year environmental bond bill? Is that correct? Okay.
Where was the Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District? Did they contact their representatives and say, hey, can you get us some funding here to help with the Moose Hill and bring everything online here?
Or alternatives, whatever they have.
There was nothing. So there's only so much that Mike Moore and Kate Campanelli can do. And now that's not up, I understand, for another 5 years.
I think it's another 3 years to 5 years, or 2 years ago.
So there's no money available right now on the state level.
Right.
So,
but it's not really a state issue, but I understand why
right,
people, they pay taxes and they go about their lives, and there's these different levels of government. And again, these are separate sovereign entities, these separate water
right,
districts, which some of them have made known repeatedly. I think it's very interesting to see that, you know, some of that has happened, but Senator Moore, Kate Campanelli, very involved in the process.
Very, very involved. And, you know, their hands are pretty much tied what they can do here. Maybe we have to look at our congressman.
Well, I would say that as far as, you know, financial compensation to move the town's issue forward, but I wouldn't say that their hands are tied as far as what they've done in trying to get people to the table and talking to DEP
right,
and saying, hey, listen, you don't necessarily have to do a permanent connection to Worcester. That's what these guys are pitching. We're open to work on other solutions. So I think that, you know, the state delegation's involvement in those discussions, which echo prior, you know, letters from the DEP, it really seems to be a good thing for other options besides this, which is seems to be sold as the sole and only option.
You know, I was I was in a store a couple of days ago, and a lot of people are talking. I mean, I'm all around town, everywhere I go, people are saying, hey, you know, you're doing a great job, and, you know, thanks for bringing this forward here, and, you know, that's pretty good to hear. And this young lady told me that the Leicester Water District, Bob Wilson and that crew up there, reached out to Mr. Knox. Now, this is hearsay. This is
hearsay.
This is hearsay, but told me that they offered to bring Cherry Valley Rochdale online through them, and it would be a lot lower rate than what Worcester would be charging us. And
did you say like it was a long time ago?
No,
or?
it just happened prior to us hooking into Worcester. And that Mr. Knox refused that offer. So that's just kind of
hearsay. But
that's hearsay. But you know what?
If we could hook into Leicester, then that would be, you know, alleviate maybe part of the problem.
Right. You know, and I think it. You know, in speaking with her, I think it makes sense here. We're talking about building a booster pump here.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, why not have Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District, Hillcrest, and have
Leicester Water District
Water District take over and supply the water, build that booster pump.
Now that would
there.
work. Maybe not. Maybe it would be a year or two before they could put that together and actually physically do it. But I don't think that would be a bad idea. I think it would be good to get it all under one roof. What would work well is the DEP in the meeting that I attended with Senator Moore and Kate and the DEP and the various water districts was they were willing to work on expanding the ACO if that's what the districts, the ACO, the Administrative Consent Order, which is what these guys have to follow due to some of the problems that are going on with the quality of the water in town for each district. So they were willing to expand that as it be to work for a long-term solution, including a joint treatment plant for Leicester and Cherry Valley. So it seems that they were willing to do other options. So how do we get back here, do you think, to a December 6th vote of the same exact thing?
You know, it's let's just hope it's not 3.5 hours of them doing the shuffle up there. And let's just go in there and let's vote on this thing here, because really nothing has changed from a few weeks ago when we voted this measure down.
And a few weeks ago, there was some pretty interesting stuff. There was actually on October 13th, there was an informational meeting, and we were provided with this packet here, the CVRWD Public Informational Meeting. And just reading from, you know, there's a section here that proposed construction of a permanent connection with the city of Worcester, and it looks like there's, you know, some PowerPoint presentation here. Special district meeting in March of 2012 to authorize $3.5 million to address the concerns listed in that administrative consent order. Now that is a long-term solution to try to treat that water at Henshaw Pond and move forward there. So there was other options considered at that time. And if you move forward in that packet, for those of us that were actually in attendance at that meeting, it says during 2014, CVRWD and the Mass DEP, they met to evaluate their available options aside from Henshaw Pond, which again, based on prior segments and other research, there's been an issue of possible contamination and knowledge of that could happen. Henshaw Pond could go offline, dating back to 1987. So to evaluate other options based on the problems listed in the ACO, some of those options were, again, this is, you know, CVRWD's information. Purchase water from the city of Worcester is the first one listed. The second one, develop a new groundwater source. Third, construction of a new conventional water treatment facility. And fourth, sharing costs with the town of Leicester and in other town water districts to develop Moose Hill Reservoir as a town-wide drinking source. So that right there is what I understand the 2003 contract between the town of Leicester and the Leicester Water District to perpetuate would be the development of Moose Hill. And that's exactly what it says in the third paragraph of that contract, which is up on various Facebook pages. People can see that. You can always go to the town administrator and get a copy if they really want their hard copy. In reviewing those options, the CVRWD reports that development of new groundwater source was unattractive due to lack of a source supply and site limitations. So they weren't able to do anything with that, they said. Construction of a new conventional water treatment facility, in addition to what was called that lower-priced $3.5 million MIAX plant, was unattractive due to its alleged $9 million construction cost and site limitations, no place to put it. So, and here is the one that I find interesting. Sharing costs to develop Moose Hill was unattractive due to the uncertainty of the willingness of the town and the town water districts to actively participate in sharing costs in design and construction. So now I'm looking at the town of Leicester, which it's my understanding in talking, and again, hearsay, it was approximately $10 million to make Moose Hill in the first instance. So that's a long time ago money, and with inflation, you can imagine maybe that's a little bit more expensive. So that money's been sunk into it. And since then, the town of Leicester has conducted studies and gone forward on a number of different issues, including trying to lay pipes here in Route 9 West, which we're still paying for on our annual tax bill and will be for the foreseeable future. So it looks like the town of Leicester and the Leicester Water District have been working towards Moose Hill going forward, but I'm being told here that they're not willing to go forward design and construction. And what was interesting, is maybe this is a problem that Cherry Valley is going to face this next meeting, is credibility. It seems that they're telling the voters that they didn't know what they did. They said that they were misinformed and didn't know, but people on social media are just people from the town. So
Exactly.
People from the town that have lived in town for some time. And we also know that maybe it was unfair to the CVRWD to have some of the regulations changed on them at the last minute, putting them in what they call this bind, but there probably were notice in public hearings of those regulations changes prior there too. So it'd be surprising to see that, on someone's diligent watch that they could pass a regulation that would ruin the district's water supply like this. And I use the word ruin maybe, too heavily there, but regardless. So credibility issues with Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District at this next meeting, I think are going to be an issue. So we're looking at that 2014 packet where they said that the town doesn't want to develop this, but we, the Board of Selectmen, myself here on my own volition, but not part of the Board of Selectmen tonight, but the Board of Selectmen themselves voted $48,000 to determine
Right,
the
that
cost
just
to bring it online.
Right.
And that was, a couple of weeks ago, really.
Then there's, there's just talking.
No, I don't mean to cut you off.
Go right
So
ahead.
that's what they're saying is 2014. And now if I look at it, this was handed out at the meeting as well from October 13th, 2016, a letter from the DEP. And if I may indulge myself, in 2012, the Mass DEP required the district to provide a corrective action plan and schedule for coming back into compliance with standards in the surface water treatment rule requirements. The Mass DEP and the district signed this thing. It was an agreement together, and the district proposed 3 options to Mass DEP to come into compliance. They could retrofit or upgrade the existing treatment plant, or build a new treatment plant, or establish a permanent interconnection with the city of Worcester. And then it doesn't say anything about Moose Hill there. So that seems to be odd as well, because this is talking about what happened in 2014 on this, which is the information that was provided at the meeting. And now the DEP has a letter to say that this was in 2013, these were provided, and that there was no Moose Hill considered whatsoever. Then they go on to say that consent order, but the little agreement between the district and the DEP was superseded, so they made a new one in 2013 to provide the district additional time. So if time was an issue, they were willing to work with it. So I'm not sure exactly, whether credibility is an issue there alone, but again, they're saying that this is the only option, this is the most cost-effective option. When you look at what's been expended by the town, and there's pain on both sides, it's not really the cheapest option in the long run, especially if Moose Hill goes to waste. So, finally, the Mass DEP recognizes that there are cost implications and some uncertainty with every option provided. But the interconnection with the city of Worcester is the most immediate, and the best option has been presented to resolve the numerous long-standing water quality issues and treatment issues facing the district. But Moose Hill was never, it appears it was never really presented here, and if it was discussed, it was apparently, despite that there was a contract and millions of dollars being spent, that the town wasn't doing anything.
Right, they failed to mention that.
So, the Mass DEP remains available to providing technical assistance and guiding to the district if the district wishes to continue to investigate other options and alternatives. So they're saying this is the best and the most immediate, but they're willing to do something else if we can come up with it. So the rhetoric of this is the only option, it doesn't seem to fly, especially when you consider these 2 pieces of paper by 2 different governings, which seem to conflict.
Right.
So we got some credibility issues there. There was threats of immediate fines if we didn't put it through last time. None of that ended up really being true.
And
there was even a comment of, I did gloss over some of those facts. There was a paltry line item of 9.
Yeah.
If I was in finance, or if I was doing my accounting and I provided that line item to my bosses, to my CEOs, I think that I might be out of a job.
You'd be out of a job. And you know what's sad about it too? They have a credibility issue, and in speaking with some of the citizens around town here, that they feel that they inflated the rates.
Well, who said? I mean, people are saying that.
People are saying
Okay,
that.
okay.
So it's third party here. This is their opinion here, that our district
May have
inflated the prices. Well, that's something to look at here, because we're paying like triple that amount there. And then of course.
So Bill, as a ratepayer, what is this to you? I mean, how's it been for you? I mean, you know, your district voted to approve to a long-term deal. Now there's not going to be any long-term deal. There's going to be money spent on some short-term, and you're going to have to spend long-term again. So you paid for Moose Hill. They want you to pay again over here, and then to get a real long-term solution, you're going to have to pay again.
Right, and then your taxes are going up. And then, you know.
Which again, and I've been hit on this numerous times. They voted for the fire station and the library, and that's your tax increase. So that's going on as well, though.
Right.
So.
Right. I mean, you know, it's ludicrous. And just talk with somebody here at the cable station. You know, he owns real estate, rental property, and he's got to pass these costs on to his tenants there. You know, and you're going to have people losing their houses, and you're going to hear the song and dance. I'm warning you right now. The citizens of Leicester, when you attend this meeting on December 6th, they're going to get up Tuesday. They're going to get up there and do the dog and pony show, and they're going to say we're going to be fined, and we might have to spend a day in jail, and these costs are going to be put on you and I to pay all these $25,000 fines. When in fact the DEP said, and they said it right there, they're looking for solutions. They're not looking to fine us.
And at that open meeting, when I addressed the lady from DUP, she said the same thing. She's like, we're not trying to fine you guys. It's more about we need to find a long-term solution.
Right. So, you know what? I mean, what have they been doing? They're getting paid big money. They got brand new trucks. They got all their staff over there. We're hooked into Worcester. Why do we need all those people? You know, I mean, let's start the cut. Let's start looking at internal here.
Well, what about, I mean, you know, and it's been floated, and I had a good discussion with Don Leonardton, who's the chairman of the Leicester Water District, at the Thanksgiving Day football game, which was a very visible discussion. We were right there at the gate. And he and I had a chance to chew some of the fat on this. And it turns out, you know, these guys are more than willing to come to the table and make something happen, whether there was a miscommunication before or whatever it happened to be. The meeting with Senator Moore seemed to have smoothed out a lot of those problems. Yep. And these guys are willing to move forward on whether it be trying to do Moose Hill, because they've signed a contract for that and they've expended money. Their district payers are paying money. But just like Cherry Valley, you're also a Leicester taxpayer. Right. So whatever you pay on the Leicester side, you're paying for that on that side.
So it's like a double whammy right there, you know?
And now they want to say, on top of that double whammy, we're gonna hit you here. So
we're gonna hit you with MWRI fees. We're gonna hit you with Worcester fees. We're gonna hit you now. And then why the high fees from them? What are they charging us for? Break that down. I want to see.
Well, I think they did. They gave us some of these bills, which, you know, looked like small car payments.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they want these smart meters. Do we really need those smart meters right now? They want to throw in almost $1 million for that?
I think that's a big grind that hits me the wrong way, is that if we really aren't going to use this for a long-term permanent solution, we are going to pursue the avenues that we've spent a lot of money and time on in town already, then it makes sense to try to go with the cheapest possible solution you can until you can get through to the next thing. So $600,000 for smart meters, a second permanent interconnection with the city of Worcester. I understand there's an issue with having to turn the spigot on and off in certain ways when it comes time for a fire or at certain times, and checking to make sure everything's okay. There's man hours involved, and it's expensive, and it's not cheap. But if you look over the years, the amount of money that's been spent on these other developments and are currently being paid by people, you know, people want to talk about Moose Hill and they want to talk about Shaw Pond or any of the other options in town as if it's a moot point. It couldn't happen. But if you look at the legislative history from 1981 forward, and if you talk to selectmen that used to work in town, they don't understand why it's not going forward either. So it looks to me like there's some smoke and mirrors going on here, and the credibility issues are going to be nagging these guys, I think, at this next special town meeting. District meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just. Let's move forward on here. They're dragging their feet. Is it job security? What is the problem? I don't understand what the problem.
Maybe there's $1 million.
It's not.
Maybe there's $1 million.
Well, you know,
gold under.
But it's not in our best. They're not working on our behalf. Now,
do you feel like it's a top? Like we're getting told instead of, you know?
Oh yeah. There was a woman on up off of Bottomley Ave. There was a water leak. And she called the Cherry Valley Rochester Water District and says, there's a leak up here. And they said, we'll send somebody up there. Supposedly they went up there and they said, oh, there was no leak up there. Well, then the town highway department had to come up with their sand truck because the water froze, and they called back again. Well, you know, they just sanded here. You better come up here again because the water is still coming out of here. That's the customer service we have here. The same thing with the cemetery over there. All right, that water was running for weeks. A business owner says she walks that way all the time there, and she reported that weeks that water ran, and they did nothing.
I wonder if they've put meters on for the street sweepers yet.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, okay.
So they're still doing that on the honor system.
Yeah, the honor system. Yeah.
So I mean, again, credibility issues starting to nag these guys. I think that's what really did them in last time. Is that people aren't dumb, and they're not going to be fooled by big words and a song and dance. Even if you can fool some of the people, some of the time you're not going to fool all the people. So again, you know, we had some glossed over facts, admittedly, at the last meetings, and we were hit with this kind of approve this now, or bad things are going to happen. That's what we were told last time, and it turned out that not. But what I'm hearing now is the new pitch is, you know, if you don't sign up for this, bad things are going to happen. You're going to have bad water. Now, what really is interesting about that is it's almost like a circular argument where it's like they were providing the bad water, but if you don't do what they say now, then you're going to have to get bad water again. But they were the people causing this in the first place.
But think about it. DEP ordered them to take this emergency thing here to give us good quality water.
The district proposed 3 options, none of which were Moose Hill. Over here, they're talking about how they definitely wanted to do Moose Hill, but it was the town's fault in the Leicester Water District. But it looks like that's not the case.
Right. I mean, it's black and white. It's right there.
And it turned out to be not the case about the immediate fines. You know,
See,
bad thing will happen. So if now they're going to say that your children will get sick, or whatever scare tactic they're going to try to do because they didn't get their way last time, Bill, I think this is serious business, and a lot of people need to be paying attention.
Bad things are going to happen, but they didn't care about it 6 months ago that we were drinking this bad water.
As long as they had that notice on the bottom, they were legally okay.
Was that like you need a magnifying glass to read that?
People knew about that, but at the same time, you know, this was my ex-plant.
But that was supposed to be the solution. For years, this bad water.
And there was no plan B.
There's nothing.
This is plan B. Hooked to Worcester forever, an already overdrawn source, and we have drought issues. So instead of adding to regional security, we're trying to just do our own thing because this is what we decided.
So let me ask you a question here, Mike. I'll just throw it out there. We got Moose Hill, we got that Ward Pond, all right, and there's some other, whatever's going on up there. Can we sell that water from Moose Hill to the city of Worcester?
Well, it depends. The issue that dogs Moose Hill in some circles would be whether or not it can be replenished fast enough. But if you look at, again, a study funded by the same company that's been doing the studies since the 80s all the way into 2008, said that there is no fatal flaws to this, and that it can provide up to 1.5 million gallons a day without issue.
That's a lot more than we're using.
That's more than we're using.
What are we using, like 500 some? 500?
I can't answer that question, unfortunately, but it's slightly more than that to my understanding. Okay. However, you know, there are other options here, and you know, this is being pitched as the penultimate solution, do or die, and it's just not the truth.
Don't buy it. That's a big lie. You know, and I'm voting no for this because, we're really starting to get to the core of what's going on here. Yep. Every day we're getting more information here. You're getting these contracts.
Which has been kind of behind closed doors. You got to pay for that stuff. Yeah. Work.
And the other thing is, and I got to bring it up here. You know, they have their water district meetings 10 o'clock during the day.
Yeah. What?
Well, what's up with that?
I know.
People work. They work Monday through Friday. Some people work the 11 to 7 shift. Some people work the day shift. So is that just for convenience of them, and so the citizens are not informed of what's going on here?
Well, I'm sure they'll use that lack of attendance as a buttress to saying why their decision is more important.
Why not offer that meeting at night, like 6 o'clock, when people are coming home and they can go to that meeting and listen to what's going on a Saturday?
And then why are we catching blowback for asking questions? I mean, this is a letter from DEP I'm reading from. This is conflicting information given from the Cherry Valley Rochdale Water District. The studies I'm reading for were sanctioned by the town of Leicester. Involvement with the DEP. This isn't nothing. What they want to say is that it's nothing. And these guys kind of backed into a corner at this point. And maybe they decided that this is how things are going to go. We're going to come back, and people don't know. The voters don't know what they're doing. We're going to tell them what this is. Even with those credibility issues, it seems to be. I don't know who's steering the ship over there.
I just don't want to listen to 3.5 hours more of a song and dance, not answering the question, just dancing all around that question, not answering it here. I think that's when people get frustrated and says, let's just move this to a vote here.
And that's a great point and a great segue, because we talked about credibility issues and we talked about not answering the question. So now when I posited the question, I forget who exactly was on the stand that time at that part of the meeting, but I asked specifically if Cherry Valley Rochdale had ever approached Leicester about trying to get water. And it was repeated that, yes, they had done this, they had hooked up, it was not viable for many reasons. And I had asked if there was any kind of an engineering report there, and there was nothing to lean on besides word of mouth, which is kind of sketchy in its own right, you know what I mean? To try to say that your drinking water was, you know, on a handshake. I don't know if that's, you know, proper practices or not, probably is, but it comes to find out, you know, Leicester Water District says that no one's ever approached them about trying to hook up and do some kind of a long-term solution. And that, you know, if I'm looking at what Leicester's saying, and I'm looking at, you know, this paper that was given out at the informational meeting saying that they did talk about it, that no one wants to do it. You know, there seems to be some conflicting reports there, and I think that credibility is going to be what really dogs them. And unfortunately, again, maybe they want to say that the people didn't know what they did, but they also know that taxes are going up this time, and people, you know, they're stretched
Taxes
thin.
are going up, your water bill's already tripled, and they can't even justify why we're paying. People are just amazed, like Holden's buying water from Worcester and Paxton. They're not even paying what we're paying, and they're getting the water from Worcester. So how did they inflate them? How can they inflate that and charge us what they're charging us?
I don't know.
All I can do is encourage you, the citizens out there, is get involved, talk to your neighbors, and get people to come to this meeting here. Because if this measure passes, we have no one to blame but ourselves. And so
and to that, Bill, if this measure passes, there's what's called a red herring. They call that in legal education, where it's something that they make you look at, so you don't look at what's really going on here. So what they're saying is that, well, there's a red herring here, that we can get off Worcester water anytime we spend money again to make something else happen. So with all the money and time and effort that's gone into development, with the status of the DEP willing to work with everybody to do something for the town, the money and the time that's gone into Moose Hill and other water issues.
This could have been resolved already.
It just seems that there are other options, and it seems that, you know, maybe someone's not getting their way and they want to get their way, but I think we have to keep pushing, Bill, and do what's right for the townspeople.
Right, and you know, thank you for people on social media, but what's encouraging, it's not just people on social media. Not everybody has social media. Go around town here, and everybody is now talking
People
about
have called
this.
my mother's house to tell me that, you know, the very same thing.
Yeah, and they're talking about, and we encourage that open dialogue here, and you know, and we'll get to the bottom of it. But we got to stick together. We're as strong as we are.
And again, the red herring comes to be, you know, if we can get off of Worcester anytime we want, but you've already paid all this money.
Right.
They authorized a permanent solution. The permanent solution's off the table now.
Right.
So now there's no permanent. The permanent solution is a jam onto Worcester with the red herring of we can get off anytime we want if we want to come spend another.
So if we stay in Worcester, and that's the thing here, do we need the Cherry Valley Water District?
I don't know. You know, at this point, that would
not?
make sense either way for the Leicester Water District, a stronger district, or some kind of consolidation between the districts.
We got to consolidate them all, but
I think that if the red herring of if we can always connect to this now and get off later, you've already spent all this money.
All this money, right?
That you're on good water right now. If they threaten they're going to take you off, it's only back to what they did in the first place. So you have to pay and pay again because they weren't watching with the Plan B.
That's it, John.
I mean, that might be a problem for some people.
You know, and don't believe the thing here that we're going to get assessed $25,000. They said that the last time, and they said that they might go to jail here. It's just, that's all they have, and that's all they can throw out there. But we're out of time this evening.
Yeah, Bill, I appreciate you taking the time on this very watery night.
Well, it's very important.
While we're all getting soaked.
We are getting soaked.
To come here and discuss these watery issues. Yeah. So, you know, in closing, I think if this goes through on Tuesday night, I think Moose Hill may very well be a dead issue, unless all of a sudden people want to decide to start paying 2 or 3 times. We've looked at the dispatch, which is one of the reasons we wanted a big police station, and so now dispatch is somewhere else. We could have saved money on the fire station if we had done a complex then, but people didn't want to pay then, so now we pay more down the line, and we got a building that sits a little bit more vacant. So. Right now, people should be paying attention to what they're paying for. If they feel like they're getting pinched on services, they should be looking at things like we have multiple water districts, and you're paying for lines for Moose Hill, but they want you to pay 130% increase to hook up to Worcester because of what, in my opinion, is short-sightedness.
And call them and ask them what your bill will be. So thank you very much for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you on Tuesday, and hopefully we all prevail on this.
Yeah, and in closing, again, people, I really hope that you get out to this meeting on 12/6. There'll be a meeting on the 5th at Ellers at 6 p.m. If you're a citizen, you have informational questions or you have information you want to share amongst citizens. And the official vote meeting, the special meeting for the district, is again on the 6th. And to quote a longtime selectman in the town of Leicester needs you, she needs you. And we need people out there, our neighbors, to support this no vote and make sure that we remain in the citizens' corner, which I've been since June of this year. This is Mike Shivick signing off.
Bill Moore signing off. Thank you very much
In the
for tuning
citizens'
in.
corner. We'll see you on the 6th.